Imagine uncovering a shocking truth about the person you thought was your enemy, only to realize they might be the love of your life. In today's story, we dive into a tale of betrayal, revenge, and an unexpected romance that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Stay tuned, because this is a journey you won't want to miss. In the heart of Florence, Italy, where the golden glow of streetlights reflects off the cobblestone streets, a luxurious hotel suite stands silent. The room is bathed in a warm amber light, its elegance accentuated by the soft hum of the city outside. The curtains sway gently in the evening breeze, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the garden below. Standing by the window is Elena Harper, a talented interior designer with a sharp mind and a heart weighed down by the scars of her past. Her reflection in the glass is a mix of strength and vulnerability, her eyes fixed on the bustling streets below. Tonight, she feels a storm brewing within her, a storm she never anticipated. Behind her, the faint sound of steady breathing fills the room. On the bed lies Liam Montgomery, a powerful and enigmatic businessman, his features softened by the dim light. He is the man Elena has spent years despising, the man she believes is responsible for the destruction of her family. Yet, as she stands there, the events of the night replay in her mind. The laughter, the shared glances, the unexpected tenderness. Elena clenches her fists, her nails digging into her palms as she tries to suppress the emotions threatening to overwhelm her. "How did I let this happen?" she whispers to herself. This was supposed to be part of her plan, a calculated step in her quest for revenge. But now, as she looks at Liam, she feels her resolve wavering. The question lingers in her mind, haunting her. How can I destroy the man who has made me feel alive again? Elena Harper wasn't always the woman standing in the shadows, plotting revenge. Once she had a life filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. Her father, Thomas Harper, was a renowned architect, celebrated for his innovative designs that blended sustainability with beauty. Her mother, Margaret Harper, was a gifted novelist whose stories inspired countless readers. Together, they built a life of warmth and creativity, a life Elena cherished deeply. But everything changed 5 years ago. Thomas Harper's architectural firm, Harper Designs, was on the brink of revolutionizing the industry with a groundbreaking eco-friendly project. Investors were lining up, and the future seemed brighter than ever. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, a series of financial scandals erupted, tarnishing the company's reputation. Elena vividly remembers the day her father collapsed in his office, clutching his chest as the weight of the accusations crushed him. The heart attack took him swiftly, leaving her and her mother reeling. Margaret, unable to cope with the loss and the public humiliation, fell into a deep depression. Within a year, she too was gone, leaving Elena alone in a world that had once been so full of light. In the aftermath, Elena searched desperately for answers. How could her father's company, once so respected, fall apart so quickly? Her investigation led her to one name, Liam Montgomery, the CEO of Montgomery Holdings. Rumors swirled that Liam had orchestrated the downfall of Harper Designs, manipulating the market to eliminate a competitor. Though she found no concrete evidence, the whispers were enough to ignite a fire of hatred within her. Elena's grief turned into determination. She vowed to make Liam pay for what he had done, to expose him as the ruthless businessman she believed him to be. But she knew she couldn't confront him directly. Liam Montgomery was untouchable, a man surrounded by power and influence. If she wanted to bring him down, she would have to be smart, calculated, and patient. For years, Elena honed her skills as an interior designer, building a reputation that would eventually catch Liam's attention. She studied his every move, learning about his business ventures, his personal life, and his weaknesses. When the opportunity finally came to work on a project for Montgomery Holdings, she seized it without hesitation. But as she stood in the ruins of her family's legacy, staring at the faded blueprints her father had once poured his heart into, Elena made a silent promise. "I will make him feel the pain he caused me. I will destroy him, piece by piece." What she didn't anticipate, however, was the man behind the name. Liam Montgomery wasn't the cold, calculating villain she had imagined. He was charming, intelligent, and surprisingly kind. And now, after spending months working closely with him, Elena found herself questioning everything she thought she knew. Her father's voice echoed in her mind, a memory from years ago. Elena, never let anger blind you. The truth is always more complicated than it seems. But could she let go of her anger? Could she forgive the man she had spent years hating? Or was it too late to turn back? Elena Harper had spent years perfecting her plan. Every step, every move, every word she would say to Liam Montgomery had been carefully rehearsed in her mind. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. She wanted him to feel the same pain, the same loss that had consumed her family. And now, after years of preparation, the moment had finally arrived. Her opportunity came when Montgomery Holdings announced a major renovation project for their corporate headquarters. The project was high profile, and Liam Montgomery himself was said to be personally involved in selecting the design team. Elena, with her growing reputation as one of the most innovative interior designers in the she submitted her portfolio, highlighting her most impressive work, and waited. Weeks passed before she received the call. A smooth, professional voice on the other end of the line informed her that she had been shortlisted for the project. The final decision would be made after a personal meeting with Liam Montgomery himself. The day of the meeting, Elena dressed with precision. Her outfit was professional yet striking, designed to make an impression. As she walked into the sleek, glass-walled office of Montgomery Holdings, she felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the moment she had been waiting for. When Liam entered the room, Elena was momentarily taken aback. He was taller than she had expected, with an air of quiet confidence that was both intimidating and magnetic. His sharp blue eyes seemed to pierce through her, and for a brief moment she felt exposed, as if he could see through her carefully constructed facade. But she quickly composed herself, extending a hand and introducing herself with a calm, professional tone. To her surprise, Liam was warm and approachable. He listened intently as she presented her ideas, occasionally nodding or asking thoughtful questions. By the end of the meeting, he smiled and said, "I think you're exactly what we're looking for. Welcome to the team, Ms. Harper." Elena's heart raced, not with excitement, but with the thrill of knowing she was one step closer to her goal. She had successfully infiltrated his world. Over the next few weeks, Elena worked closely with Liam and his team. She attended meetings, visited project sites, and even joined him at high-profile events, where he introduced her as the brilliant designer behind our new vision. Each interaction brought her closer to him, and she used every opportunity to learn more about his business dealings. But something unexpected began to happen. The more time she spent with Liam, the harder it became to reconcile the man in front of her with the image of the ruthless villain she had built in her mind. Liam was nothing like the cold, calculating businessman she had imagined. He was thoughtful, generous, and deeply committed to his work. He treated his employees with respect, often going out of his way to ensure their well-being. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Liam invited Elena to join him for dinner. It was a casual invitation, but Elena knew it was an opportunity she couldn't pass up. Over the course of the meal, Liam opened up about his life, sharing stories about his childhood and the struggles he faced building Montgomery Holdings into the empire it was today. "I've made mistakes," he admitted, his voice tinged with regret. "But I've always tried to do what's right. My parents taught me that success means nothing if you don't use it to make a difference." Elena felt a pang of guilt. This wasn't the man she had expected to find. But she reminded herself of her mission. She couldn't afford to let her emotions cloud her judgment. As the weeks turned into months, Elena's plan began to take shape. She started digging deeper into Montgomery Holdings, searching for any evidence that could link Liam to the downfall of her father's company. But no matter how hard she looked, she found nothing. Instead, she uncovered a trail of decisions that suggested Liam had actually tried to help Harper Designs during its collapse, though his efforts had ultimately been unsuccessful. The realization left her conflicted. Could she have been wrong about him all along? Or was this just another layer of his carefully crafted persona? Elena's resolve began to waver, but she pushed the doubts aside. She had come too far to turn back now. She reminded herself of the pain her family had endured, the nights she had spent crying over the loss of her parents. Liam Montgomery had to pay, no matter what. But as she stood on the precipice of her revenge, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered a question she couldn't ignore. What if you're fighting the wrong enemy? Elena Harper had always believed in the clarity of her mission. For years, her hatred for Liam Montgomery had been her guiding force, the fire that kept her moving forward. But now, as she stood in the middle of his world, surrounded by the people who admired and respected him, that fire began to flicker. It started with small moments, gestures that seemed too genuine to be part of an act. One afternoon, during a site visit for the renovation project, Elena watched as Liam stopped to speak with a construction worker who had injured his hand. Instead of brushing it off or delegating the issue to someone else, Liam personally arranged for the man to receive medical care and ensured he would still be paid while recovering. The gratitude in the worker's eyes was unmistakable. Later that evening, as Elena reviewed her notes, she found herself replaying the scene in her mind. This isn't the man who destroyed my family, she thought. But she quickly shook the idea away. It's all a facade. It has to be. The turning point came during a charity gala hosted by Montgomery Holdings. The event was a dazzling affair, with Florence's elite gathered in a grand ballroom adorned with crystal chandeliers and floral arrangements. Elena had been invited as Liam's guest, a gesture that had raised more than a few eyebrows among his colleagues. Throughout the evening, Liam moved through the crowd with ease, greeting guests and making speeches. But what struck Elena most was his genuine passion for the cause, a scholarship fund for underprivileged students. When he spoke about the importance of education and giving back, there was no trace of the cold, calculating businessman she had imagined. Instead, he seemed deeply invested, his voice filled with emotion as he shared stories of students whose lives had been changed by the program. As the night wore on, Liam found Elena standing by the balcony, gazing out at the city lights. "You've been quiet tonight," he said, handing her a glass of champagne. "What's on your mind?" Elena hesitated, unsure of how to respond. She couldn't tell him the truth that she was questioning everything she thought she knew about him. Instead, she forced a smile and said, "Just taking it all in. It's a beautiful event." Liam studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "You know," he said, "I wasn't sure about you at first, but you've surprised me, Elena. You're not just talented, you care about the details, about the people. That's rare." His words caught her off guard, and for a moment she felt a pang of guilt. She had come here to destroy him, yet he was looking at her as if she were someone he could trust. The weight of her deception pressed down on her, but she pushed it aside. "Stay focused," she told herself. "You're here for a reason." But the more time she spent with Liam, the harder it became to ignore the cracks in her plan. Every interaction, every conversation seemed to chip away at the image of the villain she had built in her mind. Liam wasn't just a businessman, he was a son who had lost his parents in a tragic accident, a leader who genuinely cared about his employees, and a man who carried the weight of his responsibilities with quiet strength. One evening, as they worked late in his office, Liam opened up about his past. "When I was 22, I lost both my parents in a car accident," he said, his voice steady but tinged with sadness. "They were my world. Losing them, it changed everything. It made me realize how fragile life is, how important it is to leave something meaningful behind." Elena listened in silence, her heart aching at the vulnerability in his voice. She had spent so long hating him, blaming him for her own loss, that she had never considered the possibility that he might carry his own pain. For the first time, she wondered if she had been wrong about him all along. The conflict within her grew stronger with each passing day. On one hand, She couldn't forget the devastation her family had endured, the loss of her father, the grief that had consumed her mother. But on the other hand, she couldn't ignore the man in front of her, the man who had shown her kindness and trust. Her doubts reached a breaking point when she stumbled upon a file in Liam's office. It was a report detailing his efforts to save Harper Designs during its collapse. According to the documents, Liam had tried to secure funding for the company, even reaching out to potential investors on their behalf, but his efforts had been blocked by another party, Victor Hale, a rival businessman with a history of underhanded tactics. Elena's hands trembled as she read the report. The truth was staring her in the face. Liam hadn't destroyed her family. He had tried to save them. The realization left her reeling. For years, she had built her life around a lie, fueled by anger and grief. And now, as the truth unraveled before her, she felt a wave of shame and regret. How could she have been so blind? That night, as she lay awake in her hotel room, Elena couldn't stop thinking about Liam. The man she had once seen as her enemy was now someone she admired, someone she cared about. But what would he think of her if he knew the truth? If he knew that she had come into his life with the sole purpose of destroying him? Tears filled her eyes as she whispered into the darkness, "What have I done?" Elena Harper sat in her office late one evening, the dim light of her desk lamp casting long shadows across the room. In front of her lay the file she had found in Liam Montgomery's office, the file that had shattered everything she thought she knew. The truth was undeniable. Liam hadn't destroyed her family. He had tried to save them. The real culprit was Victor Hale, a ruthless businessman and Liam's longtime rival. Victor Hale's name had come up before, whispered in the shadows of the business world. He was known for his cutthroat tactics, a man who thrived on the downfall of others. According to the documents, Victor had orchestrated a smear campaign against Harper Designs, spreading false rumors and manipulating investors to pull their support. It was Victor, not Liam, who had driven her father's company into bankruptcy. Elena's hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. The evidence was overwhelming. Emails, financial records, and even testimony from former employees of Victor's company. Liam had tried to intervene, but Victor's influence had been too strong. Her father's company had been doomed from the start. For a moment, Elena felt a wave of relief. Liam wasn't the monster she had believed him to be. But that relief was quickly replaced by a crushing sense of guilt. She had spent years hating him, plotting against him, and now she realized she had been wrong all along. Worse, she had allowed herself to get close to him, to care for him, all while hiding her true intentions. As she sat there, lost in thought, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. The text read, "I know what you're doing. If you want the truth about Montgomery, meet me tomorrow at 8 p.m. Don't tell anyone." Elena's heart raced. She didn't recognize the number, but the message was clear. Someone knew about her plan, and they were offering her answers. She debated whether to go, but curiosity and desperation won out. If there was even a chance to uncover more about Victor Hale and clear Liam's name, she had to take it. The next evening, Elena arrived at the meeting spot, a dimly lit cafe on the outskirts of the city. She scanned the room, her eyes landing on a man sitting alone in the corner. He was older, with a weathered face and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything around him. As she approached, he gestured for her to sit. "You're Elena Harper," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "I worked for Victor Hale. I know what he did to your family." Elena's breath caught. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asked, her voice laced with suspicion. The man sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. "Because I can't live with the guilt anymore. I was part of it, the lies, the manipulation. Victor wanted Harper Designs out of the way, and he didn't care who got hurt in the process. But Montgomery, he tried to stop it. He even offered to buy out your father's company to keep it afloat. But Victor made sure the deal never went through." Elena felt a lump form in her throat. Why would Victor do this? What did he have to gain? "Power," the man replied simply. Your father's company was a threat to his empire. He couldn't risk it succeeding. And Montgomery, well, Victor's been trying to take him down for years. Your family was just collateral damage. The weight of the man's words settled over Elena like a heavy blanket. Everything she had believed, everything she had fought for had been based on a lie. Liam wasn't her enemy. He was a victim, just like her. As she left the cafe, Elena's mind raced. She had the truth now, but what was she supposed to do with it? Confront Victor? Tell Liam everything? The thought of facing Liam made her stomach churn. How could she look him in the eye after everything she had done? Her phone buzzed again, pulling her from her thoughts. This time, it was a message from Liam. "Dinner tomorrow? I have something important to discuss with you." Elena stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She knew she couldn't keep the truth from him any longer. He deserved to know what she had done, and he deserved to know the real story behind her family's downfall, but the thought of losing him, of seeing the trust in his eyes replaced by betrayal, terrified her. That night, as she lay in bed, Elena made a decision. She would tell Liam everything. She would confess her plan, her lies, and the truth about Victor Hale, and then she would leave. She couldn't ask for his forgiveness, not after everything she had done, but she could give him the truth. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. The next evening, Elena Harper arrived at Liam Montgomery's penthouse, her heart pounding in her chest. The city lights of Florence sparkled in the distance, but she barely noticed them. Tonight, she would tell Liam everything. The lies, the plan, and the truth about Victor Hale. She had rehearsed her confession over and over, but now that the moment was here, her resolve felt fragile. Liam greeted her at the door with his usual warm smile, dressed casually in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. "You're early," he said, his tone light. "I was just finishing up some work. Come in." Elena stepped inside, her hands trembling as she clutched her bag. The space was elegant yet inviting, much like Liam himself. She followed him to the dining area where a simple but beautifully set table awaited them. The smell of roasted herbs and wine filled the air, but Elena's appetite was non-existent. As they sat down, Liam poured her a glass of wine and leaned back in his chair, studying her. "You seem tense," he said, his brow furrowing. "Is everything okay?" Elena hesitated, her fingers gripping the stem of her glass. This was it. There was no turning back now. She took a deep breath and met his gaze. "Liam, there's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you a long time ago." His expression shifted, concern flickering in his eyes. "What is it?" She set the glass down and clasped her hands together, trying to steady herself. "When I first came to work on the renovation project, it wasn't just about the job. I had another reason for being here." Liam's brows knit together, but he said nothing, waiting for her to continue. "I thought you were responsible for what happened to my family," she said, her voice trembling. "My father's company, Harper Designs, it was everything to us. When it collapsed, my father died, and my mother, she couldn't handle the grief. I lost them both because of it, and for years I believed it was your fault. I thought you had destroyed us." Liam's face remained unreadable, but his jaw tightened slightly. "Go on," he said quietly. Elena swallowed hard, her throat dry. "I came here to get close to you, to find proof that you were behind it all. I wanted to expose you, to ruin you the way I thought you had ruined my family. But I was wrong, Liam. I was so wrong." She reached into her bag and pulled out the file she had found, placing it on the table between them. "It wasn't you. It was Victor Hale. He's the one who orchestrated everything. He's the one who destroyed my father's company, and you tried to help us. I didn't know. I didn't want to see it." Liam stared at the file for a long moment before picking it up. As he flipped through the pages, his expression darkened. When he finally looked up at her, his eyes were filled with a mix of anger and hurt. "You lied to me," he said, his voice low. "You used me." Elena felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I know," she said, her voice breaking. "And I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I let my anger blind me. And now I've ruined everything." Liam stood, pacing the room as he processed her words. The silence was unbearable, but Alina didn't dare interrupt. Finally, he turned to her, his expression softening just slightly. "You should have come to me sooner," he said. "We could have faced this together." Alina shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, Liam. I don't even deserve to be here. I needed you to know the truth." For a moment, Liam said nothing. Then, to her surprise, he stepped closer and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You made a mistake," he said. "But you also uncovered the truth, and now we have a chance to make things right." Elena looked up at him, her breath catching. "What do you mean?" "We're going to take Victor Hale down," Liam said, his voice firm. "Together." The next day, Liam and Elena began working on a plan to expose Victor. They gathered the evidence Elena had found and reached out to key allies who could help them bring Victor's crimes to light. It wasn't easy. Victor was powerful and well-connected, but Liam's determination and Elena's resourcefulness made them a formidable team. For the first time in years, Elena felt a sense of purpose that wasn't fueled by anger or revenge. She wasn't just fighting for her family anymore. She was fighting for the truth, for justice, and for the man who had shown her that forgiveness was possible. The confrontation with Victor Hale was nothing short of a battle. Liam Montgomery and Elena Harper worked tirelessly, piecing together the evidence that would expose Victor's crimes. They enlisted the help of trusted allies, lawyers, journalists, and even former employees of Victor's company who had been silenced for too long. The plan was risky, but they both knew it was the only way to bring him down. The day of reckoning came during a high-profile business conference where Victor was set to announce a new venture. Liam and Elena arrived together, their presence drawing attention from the crowd. Victor, ever the confident businessman, greeted them with a smug smile, unaware of what was about to unfold. As Victor took the stage, Liam stepped forward, interrupting the proceedings. "Before you continue, Victor," Liam said, his voice calm but commanding, "I think it's time we address the truth." The room fell silent as Liam presented the evidence: emails, financial records, and testimonies that detailed Victor's manipulation of the market and his role in the downfall of Harper Designs. Elena stood by his side, her heart pounding as she watched the crowd's reaction shift from confusion to outrage. Victor tried to deny the accusations, but the evidence was irrefutable. Within hours, the story spread like wildfire, and Victor's empire began to crumble. Investigations were launched, and his once loyal allies quickly distanced themselves from him. For the first time in years, Elena felt a sense of justice not just for her family, but for everyone Victor had hurt. In the days that followed, Elena found herself reflecting on everything that had happened. The weight of her past had finally lifted, but she couldn't shake the fear that she had lost Liam in the process. She had confessed her lies, and while he had stood by her during the confrontation with Victor, she wasn't sure if he could truly forgive her. One evening, as she packed her belongings in her small apartment, there was a knock at the door. When she opened it, Liam was standing there, his expression unreadable. "I thought you'd be halfway out of Florence by now," he said, his tone light but tinged with something deeper. Elena looked down, unable to meet his gaze. "I didn't think you'd want to see me again." Liam stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Elena, you made mistakes. So did I. But what matters is that you told the truth, and you fought to make things right. That's more than most people would do." She finally looked up at him, tears brimming in her eyes. "I don't deserve you, Liam." He shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "You deserve a fresh start, and I want to be part of it if you'll let me." Elena's breath caught as he reached for her hand. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "I've never been more sure of anything," he said. "We've both been through enough pain. It's time we start building something new together." 6 months later, Elena and Liam stood on a quiet beach at sunset, the waves lapping gently at their feet. It was a small, intimate ceremony, attended only by close friends and family. As they exchanged vows, Elena felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The man she had once seen as her enemy was now her partner, her future. As they walked hand in hand along the shore, Liam turned to her and said, "You know, I think your father would be proud of you." Elena smiled, her heart full. "I think he'd be proud of us." Months after their wedding, Elena Harper and Liam Montgomery had settled into a life that neither of them could have imagined just a year ago. Their days were filled with purpose, their nights with quiet joy. Together, they had not only rebuilt their lives, but also created something new, something stronger. Elena had started her own design firm, inspired by her father's legacy but determined to make it her own. With Liam's support, she had secured her first major project, restoring a historic building in Florence. It was a challenge, but one she embraced wholeheartedly. For the first time in years, she felt like she was honoring her family's memory in a way that brought her peace. Liam, too, had found a renewed sense of purpose. The fallout from Victor Hale's exposure had shaken the business world, but it had also opened doors for change. Liam used the opportunity to advocate for ethical practices in the industry, becoming a voice for accountability and fairness. His company, Montgomery Holdings, thrived under his leadership, earning respect not just for its success, but for its integrity. One evening, as they sat on the terrace of their home overlooking the Arno River, Elena leaned back in her chair, a contented smile on her face. The soft glow of lanterns illuminated the space, and the sound of distant laughter from the streets below filled the air. "You know," she said, turning to Liam, "I never thought I'd find happiness again, not after everything that happened." Liam reached for her hand, his thumb brushing gently over her fingers. "Neither did I," he admitted. "But sometimes the hardest paths lead to the best destinations." Elena laughed softly. "That sounds like something out of a self-help." He grinned. "Maybe, but it's true, isn't it? If we hadn't gone through everything we did, we wouldn't be here now." She nodded, her gaze drifting to the river. "I used to think revenge would bring me closure, but it didn't. It was the truth and you that set me free." Liam's expression softened, and he leaned closer, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "And you taught me that even when trust is broken, it can be rebuilt. You gave me a reason to believe in second chances." As the night deepened, they sat in comfortable silence, the bond between them stronger than ever. They had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and loss, but they had come out the other side with something far more valuable: love, forgiveness, and hope. Elena glanced at Liam, a playful glint in her eyes. "So, what's next for us, Mr. Montgomery?" He smirked, leaning back in his chair. "Well, Mrs. Montgomery, I was thinking we could take a little break, maybe travel, see the world." She raised an eyebrow. "And leave all this behind?" "Not forever," he said, "just long enough to remind ourselves that life is about more than work. Besides, I hear the Amalfi Coast is beautiful this time of year." Elena laughed, her heart light. "I think I could get used to that." As they planned their next adventure, the past felt like a distant memory. The pain, the anger, the betrayal, it had all led them to this moment. And while their journey hadn't been easy, it had been worth it. Because in the end, they had found what they were both searching for: a future filled with love, trust, and the promise of new beginnings. Thank you so much for watching this story on Emma's Stories. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more captivating tales about love, life, and second chances. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to share more amazing stories with you. See you in the next one.